Devin, it's great to have you back on the show. It feels like it's been forever and a day since we've talked, but welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hey, Paul, man, thank you so much for having me back on. Yeah, it has been a while, and I'm glad to be hanging out with you again.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It was a pleasant surprise when I opened up our nice little song distribution software, and I was like, oh, there's a new Devin Williams single. All right, I can get down with this. And of course, it was one of the ones that I really enjoy as well. So I'm thoroughly stoked to be able to spin this on the show this week. Of course, it's called Like a Fire, and it's off of the Destruction of Kings album, which I gotta say, I mean, you were a man of many surprises, but I will be honest, I did not expect to see you releasing another single off of this album just because the album came out in 2014, but that's all right. I know there's a lot of people who have not heard this song yet, and they need to because it's a killer song.
Yeah, well, that was the thinking behind it. I mean, we recorded it a couple years ago, and it's a little bit longer than what I wanted to do, but I just felt like, man, the song just has a message that I think that people need to hear, and I didn't really, we never did release it to radio, and I don't know, man. It's like, I really like the song. I don't think it's dated. It is 2 years old, but I think, it sounds like what's out on the radio today. I think people will like it if they hear it. So I wanted to kind of throw it out there and let the fans and future fans get a chance to hear this song.
That's right. That's right. And plus, it's a different world that we live in now as opposed to even like 6 or 7 years ago when, people actually went out and bought whole records and they would sit down and listen to the whole thing start to finish. And, if you had a record that was more than a year old and they were even anybody halfway interested, chances are they owned the whole album and they listened to the whole thing, and you couldn't release a single years later because people would already know it. But in an age that we live in now where people buy like the song they like and they just don't pay necessarily that much attention to others, it's a lot more feasible to be able to do that. And I'm glad that at least for this song's sake that this is one that we can get a chance to embrace and enjoy and play on the radio now and have just as good of a shot now as it probably did when you first released it. So that's a good thing.
Well, thanks, Paul. Yeah, that's my thinking too. I mean, the way people listen to music is so much different now, and I just hope, I wanted to send this out there. Actually, it's kind of strange because, I mean, even some of my fans that I've talked with, they're like, oh, I've never heard that song before. And like, it's on the record, So, did you listen to the album? Well, yeah, but I just didn't hear that song. And so it's kind of cool, get to give it new life. And it's also kind of a stepping stone into the next project. We're getting ready to head back in the studio and make a new Christian rock project, and I just wanted to give this song a chance before we move on to the next chapter.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also nice to give people a gentle reminder of, hey, you remember this side of me, because since you've released the Destruction of Kings album, you've released some other projects that definitely show a different musical edge to you that maybe most people don't venture into more than one of, which is quite fun. I totally get down with just about everything that you've done. I think you do a lot well, which is more than most can say. But since then, you've done like a pop project and you've done more of a worship project. And then you're also just getting ready to release like you're going all like Metallica on us and doing something with a quartet, and, bringing the strings in, which is going to be kind of interesting and different as well.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that. But before we do that, let's get into some specifics of the song, Like a Fire, since it's the single now. Tell us a little bit about kind of the message behind it and kind of what you feel like went into that song that made it what it is.
Well, when you're a songwriter, you come up with different parts of the song as you kind of go along. You might write the verse first or the chorus, whatever. But the first thing that came to me with this song was the chorus, man. Just like a fire, burning out of control. You can't stop it, and actually right now you can see. It seems like actually every summer, out in California, some of these fires are so crazy.
Sure.
And so, I mean, fire is a real thing, like it's uncontainable and it's very difficult to manage. And I felt like when I was writing the song, I wasn't thinking specifically about that, but I was thinking about the Spirit of God and how, all throughout history, the powers that be have tried to stop the spread of the gospel. They would, just from the martyrs to, just you see it over and over. They tried to stop Jesus, they crucified him, and there's nothing that this world can do to stop spread, and the joy, the love, the power, the passion of the gospel. And that's what this song kind of embodies. And is crazy. So I had the chorus. I'm like, God, how do I say, how do I come out and say this? And so when you listen to the song, the very first line is, it takes a spark, to light a flame. And I know that may be a little cliche, but, it really makes sense with this song and with what I'm trying to say, because it's just that spark of faith, the faith of a mustard seed and the size of a mustard seed, and it can grow into amazing thing. It can change the world. And I feel like, maybe when it was written, we released it in, 2014, maybe it didn't, the world wasn't ready for it. They're like, you take, like a fire. But I think at this point, what's happening with our society and there's the political spectrum is just getting so crazy. Everybody's kind of, I don't know if you watch the news, but anyway,
every night,
it's like, I feel like, man, as Christians, we've got to get kind of step back from the political firestorm and really push the faith at like a fire. Like our faith, what we're trying to see accomplished is the world saved. And we want truth. We want God. We want Jesus. And that's the fire you can't stop. So that's what the song's about.
True. And I think to your point, I think also a lot of that comes down to a personal level. I think too often we look to either pastors or politicians or people in power to create some sort of mass influence or an edict or something that kind of pushes the idea of the gospel in a way that I don't know that it was necessarily intended to. I think that the gospel is most effective when we as Christians live the way we're supposed to be living and being like Christ. And I think when you can make that visible, that goes so much further than somebody behind either a press conference podium or a podium in a church telling you to do one thing or another. It's that example that is most effective and most likely to spread, because I think people like to see how things work. They want a demonstration. They don't necessarily want instruction as much to get started. I think you need that instruction after a while to kind of know where to go next. But I think people like to know that person in their life that they can see is like, oh, there's something different there. What is that thing? I want that thing. Yeah.
Living and walking out your faith is how you share that gospel. Yeah, even more than like what you're saying from the podium or from an edict or something like that. But just showing love, showing God's love and His mercy, and grace. So, yeah.
Absolutely. In addition to kind of revisiting this project for this single, we kind of alluded earlier that you've got this new project that's you with a string quartet. First off, I think people say ambitious and they mean that people think like an evil guy in a suit, but you have such a interesting reach onto things that I'm just like, I would not think to do that. And I love that you do, and you go in these different directions that are not expected at all. But first off, how did this spark of an idea come to be, and then how should we expect this to play out?
Man, I'm really excited about this new project. But yeah, I guess that's one thing that I love about being an independent artist is I can just do whatever I want. Like I don't have a label that says, oh, you got to write this or it needs to be this style or whatever. I can break those boundaries a little bit.
Sure.
But I love music. I love all styles, really. I mean, growing up in California, I listened to rap, I listened to rock, I listened to hip hop and R&B, and then when I moved out to Kentucky, which was a big change in my life, a major change. I was actually just talking to my son about it last night because he's kind of getting into popular music and he's listening to some rap and stuff, and I'm just like, you need to listen to everything. Don't just listen to that. I mean, that's cool, you like that, but anyway, when I went to Kentucky, I mean, I was introduced to like Hank Williams Jr. and Hank Williams Sr. and all these country artists that I would have never really listened to when I lived in California. So just kind of broadened my horizon. Of course, I've always loved classical music too, just for some reason. I don't know why I like certain things, but I remember I'd be driving in the car and I'd just flip it over to the classical station and go, oh, this is cool, and I just listen to it. And I know it's kind of weird and nerdy, but anyway. But anyway, I'm a music nerd sometimes, but most people nerd out on something. So mine's music. But anyway, so yeah, so how this kind of started, and I think it was with you, Paul. Last time we talked, you were kind of like, "Hey, what's the plan for the future?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, I think I'm going to do like a string project," and you're like, "Oh, that sounds weird," but it how it started was kind of strange. We were doing a project. This was in 2011. We were doing this one project. I think it's when it first started. And we were doing this song on the Overload CD.
Okay.
And we were doing this song, and I said, "Man, we really need a cello on this song." And my friend was like, "I think I can get that for you." So we got cello on this one song, and I thought, "Man, that is really cool." Well, then I just kind of forgot it. We don't, when am I going to ever use like live strings again? And one event, this was in like 2014, 2015. I was going to do it acoustic, and my guitar player came. And he's like, "Hey, man, I brought my cello just for fun." And I was like, "Really? Why?" And he's like, "Well, it might be neat, to try doing cello and acoustic." And I thought, okay. So we got to the gig and we played, and he used his cello instead of acoustic. And I just loved it. We were doing Destruction of Kings, which has got the, this really cool guitar riff, do 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 do.
Yeah.
And he was doing that on the cello, and I thought, "Oh man, this is it." We've got to do this, And so we got it. So I just kind of sort of said, "Hey man, let's plan on doing this sometime." Well, it's the years kind of went by, and it takes a lot of time. We've got to arrange all the parts for every one of those instruments. It's not like, "Hey man, grab your guitar and let's jam." You have to actually sit down and write out sheet music, and you have to get 5 or 6 real string players to come together. It's a lot more work than just, I don't know, or at least it seems like it for me, because it's a different world.
Right.
But the rock side of things, I've got great musicians, and when we jam, it seems a little easier, but it maybe is for someone else on the outside might think it's hard too. But anyway, so we were getting ready to, I actually was talking with a music producer for the next rock project. And I said, "Man, I got this idea about doing the string thing." He's like, "Why don't you go ahead and do that now? Because the song's already written. Focus on that for the next couple of months. And then let's get in the studio and work on this rock project in the fall." So
Sure.
That's the plan. And so this was in like January. I called my friend that had the cello, he's a, I don't think he went to Belmont, but he works with a lot of Belmont students. And he's like, "Hey man, let's do it." So we got together, we charted out 5 or 6, we did 6 songs from previous records that kind of like that were in the top 20 in the Christian rock stuff that we've done.
Sure.
And things that we've released, except Like a Fire. I was like, "Man, this song, how come we never released this?" So we actually did a string version of that, and man, it just all came together really fast, and it was a lot of fun getting in the studio and working on these songs, and kind of seeing a new side of those songs. I think people are going to really, really like them. And there is a special song on there too. I don't know if you saw any of that, but there's a special bonus track. I don't know if you want to hear about it, but
oh, dude, do go on.
Okay, so in all this, actually in 2014, like everything kind of changed a little bit. I found out, that that you could find. I'm half Italian, so I found out that I could actually regain my Italian citizenship.
Okay.
And so I thought, wow, well, this is pretty cool. So after 4 years of finding, tracing down family, documents and marriages and death certificates and naturalization documents and everything, I have regained my Italian citizenship. So as of 2018, I'm a dual citizen. So it's like, wow, this is crazy. And during these last 4 years, I've visited Italy, Sicily. I've been over there, and I've done a few tours, which has been great. And the people there are they're like family, And but here I am playing all these songs in English, which they love English music, so that's not a problem.
Right.
But from my perspective, I'm like, man, I don't have a song that's really connecting with them, So I wanted to make a song in Italian, and so I have probably one of my favorite, I guess, more popular songs. It's called "Here for You," and it's done really well. as far as like on Spotify and stuff. I think we're like 360,000 spins, and that's pretty good for an independent artist, you know. And so I'm like, why don't we take this song that it seems to be, going and people really enjoy, and let's translate it. And through a lot of back and forth with some of my friends in Italy, we finally got the song translated, because I wanted it, not just a word for word for verbatim type of translation, but something that really spoke the message of the song. And that's really a lot more difficult than just translating, because some things don't make sense. Like our idioms, our metaphors, American metaphors don't really make sense in Italy, or in a different language.
Sure.
So, it took a little extra time, and we did it. And, man, I don't know. So far, I went over to Italy in May and did a little tour over there, played the new song in Italian, and people seem to really like it. They're like, so you understand what I'm saying? Because, I can't really speak Italian, not fully. But I'm learning, and they seem to really like it. And oh no, we can understand every word, and so and they understood the message, and that was so exciting. So on top of that, we're also doing a music video for that song. I know I'm not really sure how to release, a string quartet single to radio, so I don't know if it'll ever make it to radio unless the people are just, the fans are out there knocking down the doors, please play this song. But, I'm not sure what kind of format it fits in. But the song is great, and I wanted to go ahead and do a video for it, put it out there for the world to hear it. So, and we're getting a double video. We're doing one in English and one in Italian. So
nice.
Hopefully in September you'll get to check that out.
Very cool. Now, one thing that I think you should do, just for kicks and giggles, is I think you need to put the lyrics into Google Translate it to Italian, and then translate it back to English from that Italian, and just see how much gobbledygook it ends up being.
I know, right? Yeah. Who's to say I haven't done that? Actually, it makes sense, because I wanted to make sure, and that's the case. I think one time, just going back and forth with some of my friends in Italy, we used Google Translate. I think I actually accidentally said a cuss word or two. I'm like, oh man, I did not mean to say that, and they're like, no, it's okay. Google Translate, you can't really trust it. So you do have to kind of go back and make sure that what you're saying is what you think you're saying,
Yeah, you can't be too careful of that stuff, man.
Yeah.
So I do have one more question about the string album. I think that it's interesting that I think you're kind of breaking a formula of which I've seen most rock bands do something similar, because usually it'll be like the full band's there, but they're being accompanied by like a string quartet or an orchestra or symphony or something. But you're just performing just with the quartet, is that right?
Yeah, yep, that's it.
Dude, I admire your gumption. That's good.
Well, I just thought, man, I don't know. I wanted to feature the strings more than me. Like, I was like, turn my guitar, actually the acoustic guitar. I kept telling the mixing guy, which he's amazing, dude. He's one of the guys that does a lot of the Christian albums here in Christian music. I don't know if I say his name or not, but he's super talented, and he does everybody's music, so he's awesome.
Nice.
But he had the acoustic guitar way up there. I'm like, dude, turn it down. It's not about my acoustic guitar. I just want my vocals and the strings to shine, And he's like, okay, this is different, Why? And I'm like, because it's more about the music than the band, It's more about the music than, and I've always loved strings and real strings too. I mean, I know they have some amazing programs out there now that sound just like strings, but there's nothing quite like getting 4 trained, classically trained musicians together in a room, and you just get this, this cool vibe, this cool sound. And I hope that that's what translates, into what people hear.
Yeah.
When they get the album, they're like, wow, this is cool. It's different. That was the goal.
Nice. I like that. Well, cool. Well, on to something slightly different. I saw recently that you got the privilege of opening up for the makers of Click, Click, Boom, Saliva. How was that?
Man, that was awesome. And so, like, the whole week before the show, we were just listening, me and the band, like all of us, we in our spare time, we were listening to them, and Saliva, and they were like, they had a lot of hits, man. We're like,
Yeah.
this is going to be great getting to open for them. So, the crowd was decent. We got to rock our set out and got to share the gospel, because, it's a mainstream type of venue.
Sure.
But, it's one of if we're not out in the world, then, what's the purpose of what we're doing, so that's where I want to be.
Sure.
And it was cool, man, just hanging out. And, they actually didn't come in till like right before they went on, cause
Oh, wow.
so, we all got to play, and, they came in kind of the last minute and said, hey, they're really great guys. They did kind of an acoustic set. It was a really totally different vibe than what you might hear on the radio.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
But it was a blast. And, I don't know, it was just really cool.
Nice.
Hanging out with them.
Nice. Well, dude, I'm glad that you guys had that opportunity. I think that's fun. I was a fan of Saliva back when they first came out, and for a couple of records, I kept up with those guys. And yeah, that's some good stuff. Oh man, I love that. Cool. Well, first off, of course, you'd mentioned that you were already kind of working towards what will end up being the next rock record as well. As soon as the string quartet album gets released, and kind of work on that. Do you have any kind of feeling of what direction that's going to go? Anything that we can expect from that?
Man, I'm not 100% sure on the direction yet.
Okay.
I'm still in the writing phases. I have several songs finished, but even at that, we can tweak them to sound certain ways.
Yeah.
One thing that my producer said that I'm still tentative that I'm going to work with him, but he wants to work on the project and everything, but he does not want to A/B the recording. So he doesn't want to say, oh, what's popular out there? Let's make it sound like this.
Sure.
And that's where I'm at, man. I want to make something that's, honestly, while I'm writing these songs, I'm thinking, man, everything's been done.
Yeah.
It's really tough to try to come up with something completely new. So, I don't expect like, oh my gosh, it's got like guitars and everything. And I don't know. I have no idea. But I want it to be like passionate, man. I want, when people listen to it, that it's going to motivate them to change their lives, to change. Really, that's been my goal in every record. It's never been to say, oh, let's sound like whatever's out there. I want it to sound modern. I want it to sound contemporary, whatever's, the sound of the day, but maybe push the envelope a little bit.
Okay.
But it's going to be raging guitars. But there might be a song or two on there with full string quartet, because I'm digging this new sound.
Yeah.
With the guitars, like more of an accompaniment. But I think that fans and my friends, most of my fans are my friends, so
yeah,
or they become my friends at some point. But what they can expect is going to be, honest rock and roll, and it might be, because I'm going back, I'm listening to for inspiration. I'm listening to just everything, man. I'm listening to, I listen to a lot of secular bands, but I want to put, the faith and hope in songs that I write.
Sure.
But there's something about a lot of those, the old 90s bands, and even Elvis, whatever, there's passion, there's power in the music that they performed.
Yeah.
And, they were using it for the wrong reason, like they're promoting sex, drugs, and rock and roll or whatever. But man, I want to use that passion, that power, and promote love, faith, the gospel. And, just, I'm going to have my Les Paul and my Mesa Boogie turned to 11.
Nice.
Just know that.
Nice.
But it might have some electro stuff in it. It may not have, it might just be the four of us in a room with a mic, and we're just going to rock.
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll see how it goes and what the producer wants to do. And, I don't know. I just don't know exactly what. I'm not trying to please the fans, but I want to take them somewhere different, somewhere new, and it may have a blast from different genres and different location, like different history times in music. I have no idea. I might throw some trumpets in there.
Hey, don't
be afraid, right?
That's right. Well, dude, and I've been surprised. I've heard like some horns on some records lately that I did not expect. I don't remember which one it is, but there's one that's, at least for a while, was spinning on Top 40 radio, and I was just like, this has like full on like Chicago horns in this thing, and it's not a soft rock record. It was like it was like a pop record with like a danceable thing, and it had like real horns in it. I'm just going, that's cool. It's like you don't hear that anymore. And the last Steve Taylor record had horns in it, which was slightly unexpected, even though he's done stuff like that, in the past. But it's interesting when people resurrect something that you don't think of as being of its time, but they bring it back in a different way. I always find that very intriguing.
Yeah. I just think it's just crazy because I listen to a lot of Christian bands too. I mean, I'm listening to, Seventh Day Slumber, Seven Time Down, and Mercy Me. I'm just listening to all these guys. I'm just thinking, man, the music's great.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, especially some of the bands that just they're unknown as far as outside of the small Christian rock circle, and it's sad to me.
Yeah,
because they're so talented. The music's great. I mean, I listen to it. I'm like, this is a hit song. This is better than some of the stuff that's on secular, modern, mainstream music.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, for sure.
Why is it not resonating with the people? And that's where I'm like, okay, as a writer, I mean, I love rock and roll and I love raging guitars. That's what I love. How can I write songs that include that?
Yeah.
That are going to resonate with people. And that's where I'm going to come from, with this record. And I don't know. I mean, and if I write songs and nobody likes, I guess that's just the way it is. There's that too, but I hope that people like them. I hope that the message moves people.
Cool That's deal, man. Cool. I love that. Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to that. Now, there's one thing that I did not expect to end up asking you about, because I just kind of stumbled upon this within the last 30 minutes, and this may go absolutely totally nowhere. But in the process of trying to double check and make sure that your new Devin Williams and the string quartet album had not yet released, I was just like, I got to double check on that. I went over to your iTunes page, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, there's all these records. We've got the live album, we've got the EP, we've got the single, we've got his last full-length record. And then I see down at the bottom, movies, and I'm like, what is this? And so I click on it, and it says Wild Men, and it turns out it's a mockumentary about Bigfoot. Are you in this, or is this just some sort of weird name doppelganger problem? I'm
pretty sure that's a doppelganger.
Oh, yeah. I'm so disappointed.
I know the last couple months, I've had a few of the doppelganger issues, but I've had those resolved except for maybe a couple. The movie thing, now that'd be cool, but no, that's funny though.
And it was like a recent release too. It came out last year. It's like I said, I know nothing about it. It's not rated, so I can't say anything to the content of the movie one way or another. But it looks kind of funny, and I was really hoping that you were involved in this.
Well, I mean, maybe I should look in the credits. I have they may have used one of my songs or something.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. As far as I know, I'm not in it, but they might have used one of my songs or something. So
yeah, no telling.
Yeah, but yeah, the new album. I don't know if you want to say, but just August 31st is the official release date.
Okay,
it'll be available iTunes and the rest of the world.
Cool.
But right now, I'm doing this pre-order thing on my website.
Okay.
And there's a couple different levels. I've got the deluxe package. It's like the CD. You get the download as soon as it's available on August 31st. CD, I will sign it, and I will also send you a signed autograph. So, that's all exciting and everything. So
cool. Very nice.
But you can get just the CD, or just the download as well. So,
okay. Very nice, man. Very nice. Well, before I let you go, there's one question that I've gotten in the habit of asking everybody, and I don't remember if I asked you this last time. So if I have, forgive me, but I also know that when I ask this more than once, the answer tends to change. But as a guy who fronts a rock and roll band, and you're even rock and roll enough and secure enough to do a string quartet album and a pop album and be totally cool with that, and still knowing you can just tear it up on stage. But even so, with all of that being said, what is the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
All right, that's a tough one. Let's see. I work in insurance.
That's right. So you know all about liabilities and how to stay safe and avoid lawsuits. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends on which I guess which portion of that.
Rock and roll.
It could be pretty rock and roll, man. I mean, I've dealt with some people on the insurance thing that I had to go toe to toe with, and let me tell you what, those people are gangsters, man. So I don't know. That might be pretty rock and roll, but that's okay. I mean, I get that. I don't think that most people would assume that, and I think that that's the best part about that question is it's always like, oh, well, I never would have put that with that person, but that's cool.
No, man. You know, I'm an independent artist. I've been making records ever since I moved to Nashville. I haven't stopped. I've pushed for record deals. I've pushed, you know, to do the tour thing. And it's just like, I can never, up to this point, I've never been able to make a living just doing that. I mean, that's a source of income, and it actually pays for itself now. I mean, music, I make enough money selling albums and touring to pay for the next record. But before, I had to have a day job to support my habit, you know?
Yeah.
So I got into insurance, and it's been a good job because, you know, I can plan my vacations. I can plan my tours, really. I mean,
sure.
They think I'm going to Disney World or whatever. I'm out touring and hitting the road like, you know, like a madman. But no, they're cool with that too, actually. You know, we've gone on tour with Firefly and some other bands, and we were gone for 6 weeks and worked it out so that I could take it off from work. So my work has been so generous and lenient. But insurance, yeah. So, but man, some days, I mean, I just want to focus on just the music. But for now, the way that God would have it, I actually have several jobs.
Well, dude,
tri-vocational.
Amen to that. I think that has kind of been my lot in life as well. So I feel you, man, 100%. Cool deal, dude. Well, man, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. I know that listeners are going to be thoroughly happy to be able to hear the new song and get to enjoy it, and look forward to the new string quartet album. And dude, blessings and all that you're doing. I know that it's a tough world to be able to do music as a almost like a hobby, just because it's so much less time to be able to make it happen. But I think you're doing great, and just keep up the good work, my friend.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it, man.